Hi, I'm Alex Vassar, coming to you live, somewhat live, from the Leroy Green Legislative History Museum here in Sacramento, California. Today I'm going to be talking to you about one of my favorite government publications, which they're supposed to publish every 4 years, but they don't. It's the California Blue Book. The Blue Book has been published by the state since 1891. Originally it started as a very thin publication that included the salaries of state elected officials, short explanations of what each department and agency, actually they didn't really have agencies back then, did in the state, and it's grown since then as the state has grown. Later editions had the agricultural output of each county, detailed biographies of the different legislators and the committees, all kinds of stuff. It's a really good book. What I think is really cool about it is by statute, it's supposed to come out every 4 years. So that's once every gubernatorial term, and it gives you a really detailed snapshot of what's going on in the state at that time. It's a brilliant idea. It makes a little more sense when you think, although most of this information is available online, it's hard to go back and get an image of what each one of these indicators are in the state back through time. So if you can look at who the legislature was, how many veterans were in the legislature 4 years ago, 8 years ago, 12 years ago, it really provides for much easier comparison. The Blue Book is supposed to be published every 4 years, as I mentioned earlier. It's not. It was published pretty consistently from 1891 through 1975. There was one gap in the late teens and early 20s, but it stopped in 1975. There was only one more published after that, and it was the sesquicentennial big edition. It's a monster. It is a big book, and that came out in 2000. So it's the 2000 Blue Book. One has not been published since then, so it's been 15 years since that one was published, and it was about 25 years before that the one before that was published. So although we have records from online, various government publications, it is something that is missing from the libraries today. Technically, the California Blue Book got its start as the California State and County Roster in the early 1880s. It included a list of the incorporated companies of California along with their incorporation number and the date that they were incorporated. It also had the mailing addresses for the 40 state senators and 80 assembly members. In 1891, the first Blue Book was published. The 1891 Blue Book included the cost and dimensions of the state capitol, including the assembly chambers at 73 by 75 feet, a copy of the California State Constitution, and the census returns for the most recent federal census. One other interesting feature was a line drawing of the State Normal School of Los Angeles, which later was taken from the normal school system and transferred to the University of California, where it became UCLA. By the 1940s, the Blue Book had grown to almost 700 pages. One of my favorite features of the 1942 Blue Book is the foreword by then-Governor Culbert Olson. In it, he notes that the world is currently torn by war. He further says that although the war will undoubtedly bring changes, and what those changes may be no one can foretell, this book will remain the record of how men lived and governed themselves in the pursuit of peace. The agricultural output of each of the counties was listed in detail in the 1942 Blue Book. So you can actually go back now and find out exactly how many pounds of asparagus were grown in Contra Costa County in 1941. Or that the elevation of Colusa County ranges between 30 feet and just about 7,000. The California Blue Books were an amazing source of information on what was happening in the state of California, and it really is unfortunate that they're no longer published.